Hello, everyone. Welcome to MnemoConnect. MnemoConnect is a program that is part of the Mnemo channel from Consecutivos. This is a live program that takes place on the fifth Thursday of the month, in those months with 5 Thursdays, which is the case of this month of August. Uh, we have this one of the five, MnemoConnect is one of the 5 weekly programs that make up Mnemo channel and takes place always on 7:30 p.m. Brazil local time. And the objective of the MnemoConnect is to build a bridge with international community interested in the topic of successive lives with a conscienciological approach. And for that reason, it is delivered in languages other than Portuguese, for example, English, Spanish, and French. Mnemo channel is made up of 4 other programs: MnemoCast, an interview program with various professors and researchers on topics related to seriexological self-research; MnemoBio, this program presents and analyzes biographies of historical figures; MnemoBook is a program dedicated to the analysis and discussion of books that can contribute to the specialty of seriexology; MnemoScience, a program of debates on advanced topics in seriexology. In today's edition of MnemoConnect, we are going to discuss the topic multiculturalism and seriexological self-research. And for this, we invite 2 expert professors on the subject to debate with us, whom I will introduce after our vignette. Well, I would like to introduce you our first professor, teacher that is going to join us in this debate tonight. Liliana Alexandre.
Hello.
Welcome, Liliana.
Good evening.
Liliana, good evening. Liliana was born in Portugal. He studied philosophy and languages and worked in international trade and management. She's an English teacher and translator and a volunteer of conscienciology since 1996, instructor since 1998 in Portugal, the United Kingdom, and Brazil. Penta practitioner since 2017, verbetographer and co-author of the English-Portuguese Glossary of Essential Conscienciology Terms and the English Language Thesaurus of Conscienciology Terms. She's also an IC-NEO counselor at UNICIN and volunteer for ISIC, the International Services for the Internationalization of Conscienciology. Welcome, Liliana. It's a pleasure and very good to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me too to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for the invitation to Consecutivos. And let's discuss this hot subject.
Oh, yes. And I'll also invite to join us our second guest, Lygia Decker. Welcome, Lygia.
Thank you, Weber. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Lily.
Good evening.
Well, Lygia is a Brazilian-German, graduated in veterinary medicine with a PhD in tropical veterinary medicine and currently a retired university professor. She is a Penta practitioner since 2017, member of the Invisible College of Pentology, verbetographer, instructor of conscienciology in Brazil and Europe, editor of the International Journal of Conscienciology, and a volunteer for Consecutivos, Reaprendência, and ISIC as well. So welcome again. It's also a pleasure to have you here with us tonight, Lygia.
Thank you, Weber. It's my pleasure to talk about this nice topic and very important for our self-research.
Yes. Well, I would also like to mention that you both have great experience, large experience in multiculturalism. So we're going to have a very interesting theoretical and practical debate here tonight. So I would like first to start with definition. I would ask you to define and to explain to us what multiculturalism is, and if you want to add another information about and regarding your own experiences in this context, please feel free.
Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, so the concept of multiculturalism is not exactly a conscientiology concept at first, because it depends on how you look at it. So it can have many meanings, and it always existed from ancient history before the Common Era, actually. So you have in Saucy, it can be, for instance, discussed as a concept, as an attitude, as a target, as a strategy, as a value. And even recently, it can refer to intense demographic movements in democratic countries, in democracies, right? And exactly the problems that these movements of people can cause in those countries. But if you think of it, as I was saying, if you study sociology, history, political history as well, you can find that many societies, many countries in different continents have been multicultural right from the start. And you can even go back to ancient times of the first Persian Empire and Cyrus the Great and Darius the Great as well, where you had different countries under an empire. And when you have that, you have multiculturalism. And then if you go and talk in the 18th century about the Habsburg Empire, you have many different countries. So that's multiculturalism under one banner, so to speak. If you go to the British Empire in the 19th century, which is the biggest of all empires, but only lasted 100 years, you also have 54 countries, which include countries as big as Canada, Egypt, Australia, India, etc., USA. And that was a huge amount of multiculturalism going on there, right? So, but we are not going to go deeper into that aspect. What we are going to discuss is about multiculturalism. What is it in conscientiology, right?
Mhm.
So in conscientiology, multiculturalism ascended to the condition of a trait of personality, right? A strong trait. And as such, if it is a trait, as many other strong traits, we can analyze it, we can observe, we can assess the trait, we can evaluate, and we can measure it, which is something that we need in conscientiology as we study consciousness, right? So if a person possesses this trait, and I would say that is a strong trait that all of us intermissivists have in some aspect, manner, or level, degree, if you want. We all have it. Have we developed it to a mega strong trait or not? Is something that is important, because it is a step in the road to universalism, so to speak, right? It's a very important moment for all of us. So it is a trait that we all need. So in my case, for instance, it is one of my main mega strong traits. And when as a strong trait, it never comes alone. There is always the support of at least two other mega strong traits. If you study the seriexology and mega strong traitology, Diane Rosa has this wonderful book about mega strong trait. I found out that I had 3. So it's the top is like a pyramid. The top is pioneering. One of them on the bases are multiculturalism and welcoming. So it's kind of useful. And it never comes alone, because it always comes, the mega strong traits always evolve from a cluster of strong traits that they all interconnect, right? We can discuss that further ahead, but let's have what is Lygia's opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you placed it in a very good way. I just want to highlight some things you said about our holobiography. So especially the intermissivists, we are for sure with this background, this multicultural background. If we think about our previous lives, we had faced different contexts. We have been born in different continents, in different countries. So it's a natural trait, probably, for most of us, if not for all of us. But maybe
it's inevitable, I think.
Yes, maybe for this life, it's interesting to evaluate our role in terms of this multiculturalism, because some of us are more exposed to it. Yeah. So when we analyze our lives, for example, I know Lily also had these very complex and very deep immersions into different cultures. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So me too. So this means, from my perspective, probably a higher responsibility with different people, with let's say, a broader range of cultures. And maybe we have to do more. Yeah. For example, I'm thinking about now what we do when we have developed this trait. For example, we are able to translate some books. Yeah. So we are providing or facilitating the Claritas into other languages. Mm-hmm. So this is typical for people who have this background of several languages, several cultures, because it's easier to understand how to make this bridge between the cultures. So I think it's a very important aspect to analyze in our self-research, and especially to analyze our current life, because this comes nearly automatically. Yeah, we are exposed. We get demands from different people, from different groups, from different contexts. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a very important point to consider.
Yeah. So if I may add, on one side, we have more responsibility. And as you say, we've been born in different countries, all of us, we've been born in different continents, countries, and obviously speak different languages or spoke different languages. And everything is in our hollow memory and needs to be recovered from there, right? Because there is no multiculturalism that is monoglot or universalism that is monoglottic. So we need to if that is absent trait, or it needs to be recovered, right? And obviously with that, we are a product of that, all those lives in different cultures and different religions and all, and speaking different languages. So we've developed a characteristic that helps you today to do the reconciliation and the recomposition with the countries and the peoples we've been wrong or we've done wrong in the past on one side, through events, through, some of us living in other countries and doing what needs to be done in that specific country, in that specific region. So that gives us also more responsibility, but at the same time, because these things is always, like breathing in and breathing out. At the same way, we all have, a lot of help from the extra-physical teams, right? The team X's of different, even of different Serenissimi, as you travel along different countries and do, for instance, events in different countries or live in different countries and work with conscientiology in different countries. And obviously there's this extra that goes a lot further, because it develops your polykarmic accounts when you translate and when you write conscientiology in other languages. Because obviously intermissivists are all over the world. And at some point, it's not just about translating books, but it needs to be about writing books in different languages, writing conscientiology in different languages, right?
Yes.
Very nice. I was thinking while we were talking about, multiculturalism, of course, that we are in the intraphysical dimension, but intraphysical somehow reflects and interacts with the extraphysical dimensions, and it's all integrated, right? But do you think that as you were both were born in countries with where multiculturalism is like more evident? Of course, that as you mentioned, Lily, all countries, they are a result of multiculturalism, and they all have this background. But I think that in Portugal, and I would like also to comment a little bit on this. Portugal and Brazil, the multiculturalism is more like evident, and people are more aware of multiculturalism and multicultural backgrounds. Do you think that it is so, or you think that?
Yes. I think in the sequence of what I was saying before, that it goes both ways. You've been born in different countries, different languages, all that. In this lifetime, if you already have that trait even more developed, is probably you're going to be born in a country and in a city that is very multicultural, because there is the affinity of your trait with the trait and the holocene of that city and of that country as well. And of course, we have our group karmic account and our things to, our bills to pay, as I sometimes call it. But it is very important that this openness that you have, as Dr. Valdo Vieira used to say, there is it opens different routes, wider routes where you can travel, right, and you can access people and communicate with people and develop our proaxis and talk about conscientiology and all that. It is very much because it all works with affinity. Yes, you were born in a specific country with that specific characteristic. For instance, when I was born in Portugal, I never considered myself to be Portuguese, which is something that kind of, but because my holomold was not Portuguese. I came from countries from north of Europe, right? In previous lives, like England and Germany and things like that. So my holomold, my mom used to say, "You're not English. You must be, no, you're not Portuguese. You must be English or German or something, because you don't have reactions like the Portuguese do." I didn't have that passion, that kind of reaction or something. I was very cold in my analysis and in my judgments of things and stuff like that. But one of the advantages of being born in Portugal, of course, there was group karmic things to resolve there. I know that. But from the moment that I became a teacher in '98, I didn't stay much further in the country, because in January 2001, I was already in England. I had been invited to go to England to give conscientiology classes there. But there was this thing that helped to be born in Portugal. I could have access to conscientiology earlier in January 1996, and also living in that holocene, although I didn't like some of the values and some of the principles were not mine, and some of the things were not, type of reaction that people had and stuff I didn't like, and I didn't like the language as well. It's a different story. But there was one thing that was also very positive. I've developed further one mega strong trait that is in the basis to work with pioneering and with multiculturalism, which is welcoming. because the Portuguese are a very welcoming country. You know, the whole cuisine, people are generally, you know, very welcoming. And that helped me a lot, you know, to be able to put more into practice things that were more intellectual, things that were more, you know, I've written about it in past lives probably, but put it well into practice, live through it, have the experience. That was very much the work of this lifetime, both in Portugal and then in the UK.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about this because I think it's a good point to analyze in our self-research about the place we are born. Yeah? Because it means a lot. Yeah, this has to do with the proxemics. So the proximity between the people, the culture, and I think sometimes we feel like, well, I wish I had been born in such country or in such culture, but actually I suppose that we plan our life in the place or with the people we need to be. Yeah. And it's interesting that sometimes we are born in a country and we are later attracted or we have experiences in other countries. This was my case. And sometimes I think about this in the way that, okay, I have a lot of affinity with Germany. Yeah. In Germany, things were very open for me since the beginning. And I spend a lot of time there. I work there. But maybe if I was born in Germany, this would not be so good for my proaxis, for my, you know, for my understanding, even to access consensuology. Yeah, so maybe we are born in a place as a prophylactic way, you know, to make things a bit more safe or, you know, in a direction we need to develop. So I always think about this aspect, why I was born here, and maybe it's the case of this, at least the first generations of intermissivists were born in Brazil, because consensuology was founded and developed in Brazil by Valdo Vieira. So it would not make sense if the people would not arrive, yeah? And he was always talking about this, the generations of intermissivists arriving. Maybe now, after some decades, we have intermissivists being born in other places where we can develop and we can access consensuology in other ways, through other means, yeah? So I think this is an important aspect of our self-research to consider. The place we were born and the places you develop your proaxis, especially the executive phase, yeah, the time you really are producing something and creating things and contributing with society, through your profession, to your, you know, to your actions. So I think it's a very good way to start a self-research by the place you were born.
Yeah. But let me just remind that intermissivists were born all over the world, not just in Brazil, right?
Yeah,
because consensuology is not made by Brazilians for Brazilians.
No.
There was an opening here that was multidimensional, and that the language also helped, as Dr. Vieira used to say. But from that, let's check, you know, who is out there, because when you start giving classes out there, the first people to arrive are the intermissivists that were born in other countries. And after a while, which I notice in London, then you are no longer giving classes to intermissivists, but to pre-intermissivists, which is also very important, because these are people that have many knowledge about many different things, and Reiki, yoga, meditation, this and that, and they come to give to take classes of conscienciology. And these people, if they want, if they can, but they have conditioned to become new intermissivists. And also, there's another thing. We tend to think that we had the first intermissive course, and okay, everyone was born in that generation, and it's not like that. Things are not that clear cut. And some of us were ready first, others were kicked out. I have this idea that I was kicked out. You're ready, go. Because otherwise I was saying, no, I'm not yet ready. I need to study more or something, because that's very much me. But no, you go. And some people came first and others came later, but we are from the same intermissive course. We're just some took longer to arrive, so to speak. And you notice that, at least that's my experience, through giving classes to other intermissivists. They are the same course from you, but they came much later. So maybe because I have this characteristic of pioneering, I came a little bit earlier. I don't know. But, there's also this possibility. And of course, now we have new intermissivists being born with other intermissive course, more refreshed, more, with different characteristics.
Obviously. Yeah, I always mention about this, because at least in my case, my intermissive course was 65 years ago. So people coming, they are much more, updated, refreshed and better prepared for the moment we are facing now. Huh? Mm-hmm. And I think this is our role also when we are giving classes in other countries, because we are the attractors of intermissivists. So that's why it's so important to go to other places and to meet other people, other cultures. And the more you know about the culture, the more integrated you feel in one country, the better conditions you have to understand and to make this link and to give the class or to structure courses and activities really adequate for that culture, because this is a big difference, to talk about something so deep, so abstract, let's say, in another culture. You need to make this link, this adaptation, this, it's nearly to produce a new knowledge about what you did learn or did practice in another culture.
Because you didn't have to create new neologisms to present the ideas in different cultures. This is one of the things. It's why we're creating now so many glossaries and the thesaurus and all that to help that. The thesaurus has the neologisms already in 6 different languages. It's going to help a lot, future intermissivists and future translators and revisers of books and all that. This is also very important in that. And also because, and I tend to say this also to my students, when you learn a language, actually, we are mainly retrocognitive catalyzers or attractors, right? And agents, retrocognitive agents. And as such, these languages are all in your hollow memory. We just have to go to the file and bring it, do an actualization.
Retrieve,
retrieve the information. And I generally tell my students that learning a language is not just about learning the grammar and the vocabulary. You need to connect with the cultures that speak this language. The main cultures, at least, that speak these languages, understand the humor, the culture, the way that people talk, what they talk about, so that you can actually interconnect with them. One of the things that happened to me when I moved to London in early January 2001, February 2001, was that I was using English on my daily life since the age of 10, but in the first year, it was a bit difficult because as I was not in the culture, I had to watch a lot of TV, a lot of news programs, humor programs. There's always this facet of English people. They're comedies, everything. You have to be able to laugh about yourself and about everything, and see the funny side of things all the time. And I had to watch a lot of TV to be able to understand what they were talking about, because they would talk to me about, oh, do you know that program, blah blah blah? Do you know that person, blah blah blah? And you know, and no. So you had to immerse yourself in the culture to be able to actually communicate, because you know the language, yes, but what about the contents? That is, connect yourself with the culture. And then when you're preparing courses and activities and events in conscientiology, you are connected, and you know how to speak with people, you know how to approach things, you know what is a yes, what is a no, all those things that are very specific of each culture. The other thing that I would like to add is this wonderful opportunity I was given to work in the UK and in London particularly, because sometimes I had a class of 6 or 8 people. That's, the room only took 8 maximum. So when you lie down, everyone could fit in the same room. And generally, only one was English, and the others were from many different countries, Greek, Egyptian, Liberian, Pakistani, and their parents were also from different countries, like mom from a country, dad from another country. Their grandparents were even from different countries. So that's the level of multiculturalism of people that live in London, right, where 500 different languages are spoken. Where you have everything in the world, all that is good, all that is not so good, because you have all religions, all cultures, all, for people that lived in New York and London, they say London is even more cosmopolitan, has more of a mix, because people are not isolated in ghettos as in the UK, as in the US. In the UK, everyone is together. Like you have, even sociologically speaking, you have cheap housing in every borough of London, in every quarter, and people mix, right? They have to mix. That's the thing. That's the one of the definitions. There's 2 main definitions of multiculturalism. One is the melting pot, which is what is happening in what happened in the USA, right, where the cultures, the minorities in a society, are going to be eaten, so to speak. They have to obey to the political culture of the country, and that is very negative. And then there's the UK version, which is the tossing salad, which is everyone works together, lives together, and nobody is erased in their culture, right? It's all put together, which is a different way, more open way, more.
Very
better.
interesting. I would like to take this opportunity, Lindy, because you proposed the concept of multiculturalismology, right?
Yeah.
You proposed a verbete, and can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, with pleasure.
Uh-huh.
So, as I was saying initially, if we study multiculturalism as a trait, and then we can observe, assess, evaluate, measure it in people, in consciousness, then it follows that you need a science for that, right? So multiculturalismology is a subspecialty of universalismology. It's a step into direction of the world state, the future world state, and universalism as well. And is, as such, is also one of the specialties that Isaac wishes to develop, and is developing already in practice, because we are all multicultural. We come from many different countries in Isaac. We have an English name. We use English in all our interactions, in and outside classrooms. So all our meetings, for instance, are in English. And when we are talking privately, the habit is so big that many times we are speaking still in English, because at least, it's a more universal language, and it's a common denominator for all of us to interact coming from different countries as we do. So multiculturalismology is exactly that subspecialty that or that studies and researches the manifestations of consciousness that have this trait of multiculturalism. I'm, abbreviating, and as such, and we are going towards universalism, as I was saying, and going towards universalism. This encompasses things that sometimes we don't think about, because universalism is everything. That means it is nature. And in nature, it is human beings, humankind, because we are other animals as well. We are animals. We have an animal body. So we need to know about all that and how to interact well with all that. So human beings, animals, the fauna, fauna and flora, and also the cosmos, and therefore other, and we are always talking multidimensionally speaking, okay? But beyond that, the cosmos, other planets, other galaxies, extraterrestrial beings. So all that is included in universalism. So how can you not need to develop multiculturalism, right? It's a tool. It's a step. It's a tool. It's a must. It's an inevitable. It's in all of us, right? So it's a stepping stone, right?
And what do you think about, because we are mainly talking about societies and countries, etc. But when we think of our ethnic and genetic background, that it's nowadays is more available to us, those genetic tests. And what do you think? Can you comment a little bit on these genetic tests?
You want to start, Lygia?
Yeah, I can say something.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say something as well.
Because, I think it's a very good tool. Especially because we can make some links with our paragenetics. Yeah, so by understanding a bit of our genetics in this life, maybe we are able to guess or to hypothesize some things from our past, from our paragenetics. And actually, we had an event in Consecutivos this year, the week for seriexological self-research. The topic was paragenetics. So I know that many people made their genetic test for this event, and I made mine some years ago, and I was really surprised with the results, because some things I did expect. For example, 48% was Iberian. So it's for most Brazilians, the ascendance is from Portugal, from Spain. This is natural to have. So nearly half was related to this group, let's say. But the second most common was 26%. I was Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. So this for me was a big surprise, because as far as I know, we don't have this group in our family. I never heard about this. And immediately I connected with the fact that I lived in Scotland for some years. I made my PhD actually in Scotland. And I have an affinity, and I know the roots from the Celtic people. And this, in a way, brings me this information, maybe from my paragenetics. I can understand this, let's say, heritage from other groups. Yeah.
In both Irish and Scottish, they are Celts, right? They were
yes, and in Ireland also. Yeah. So this was a very high proportion. I did not expect. But also I had from Africa, North Africa, Nigeria, and other countries, including Scandinavia, Mideast area, and a bit of Jewish, only a bit. But I mean, it's very interesting to see that some people, they have a more homogeneous profile, let's say, yeah? Mm-hmm. But for many of us, we will see the variety, yeah? We see this, there are some videos in the internet, very funny, showing people discovering they have roots from cultures they never thought about.
Exactly.
And from my point of view, this is interassistance. Yeah, we are here. The evolution means interassistance. So these are the people connected with us. Our past is in front of us, yeah, very clearly. And for when we think about evolution and interassistance, there are no barriers. Yeah, people consciousness are consciousness, no matter where and when they are in this intraphysical life, but our origin is extraphysically. Yeah, we know each other for a long time. We have rare friends, and sometimes we don't realize this. So by having the chance to interact with other cultures, other people, sometimes we have this surprise. Yeah, we have affinities with people you never saw before in this life, but maybe is somebody very important in your holobiography.
Yeah. It's so interesting, Lygia, because before starting the program, we were just talking about the book you were writing and you were about to launch. That talks about your grandfather, right?
Yes.
Who was Swiss.
Yeah. He immigrated from Switzerland in 1895. He was young, 20 years old, around. And he was here in Brazil and had a very big family. And he married, my grandmother was Portuguese descendant. So it's really a mixture of of different groups, but it's very interesting how the history brings these facts. Somebody in the 19th century had the idea to immigrate to Brazil. So it's like, it's a flow of life. And probably he came because he had things to do here with this group and meet these people and create the whole history of the family. So this, the research about this book opened me a lot of ideas, perspectives, and, to research facts from the past, to base the finds into real documents and facts, and to tell the story in another perspective, from this seriexological view, because then you understand a lot of things happen in the past, both good things, happiness, good friendship and good relationships, but also very difficult relationships. So I think this is a good approach for our seriexological research, to investigate about our family, about our genetics, because it reveals a lot of things from our paragenetics.
And it was interesting because it didn't appear too much or in your genetic test, right? These Swiss roots.
No, but maybe there were people immigrating to Switzerland, before his time, and these are only hypotheses we can have, but we have a good surprise when we have tools like these DNA tests. I think they are very useful.
I think that regarding these genetic tests, I think they're important, they're useful. But sometimes I think, but this is about this genetic, it's this body. What about the others that I had? What were the origins of the others and stuff? But I don't know. I think I need to give it some more thought. But my genetic test gave the results were a bit similar to similar to Lygia. So you had I had Europe, obviously Iberian Peninsula as well, and big percentage. And then I had other European countries, ex-Celtic countries, yeah, to that side of the, and also Northern European countries and African, North African countries as well. And obviously that kind of around the Mediterranean there, which is also interesting because obviously one of the things that I have more confirmed, so to speak, is lives in Egypt. But what we call Egypt, I mean, when we talk about ancient Egypt, today, ancient Egypt is many different countries. And also just to give you a few, today you, what was then that, you have Libya, Sudan, Eritrea, many different countries that are all connected to the Nile, right? What we called Egypt and so we lived in close to the Nile in, in my opinion, different lives in Egypt. And then you have Egypt, Libya, Syria, Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, and Israel. So all these countries were connected and were in the ancient times called Egypt. And so, yes, I have a bit of Jewish, as in my current family is of Jewish origin as well on both sides and things like that. So it's a fantastic mix. It's very interesting. Yeah, probably tells you about, places where you were in past lives, right?
Yeah. You're probably only lacking the Far East roots in your genetics.
Yes, I was very upset that I didn't have Far East family because I am so fascinated with Far East. But now these days I know that I have cousins in the US, many, and stuff like that. So many people apparently immigrated that up north and stuff like that. Yeah,
Well,
but I'm very fascinated with when I was young. All I wanted was to travel, and I wanted to go east. I wanted to go to China, India, Nepal, Tibet, Mongolia, Japan, and all that. So I was very upset that I didn't do that, but I did what I could.
In my case, I have the Far East background, but I don't have. When I did the test, it didn't show any African root.
No.
Yeah.
Next time, next
maybe. Nobody's perfect.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah. I have this Portuguese because I'm half, right? I have Japanese and half Brazilian. I have this Portuguese root as well, European root, but Africa didn't show up this time.
Another point interesting about these tests, some of these tests, they show where the people more related to your DNA, where they live or where they are.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to see this. Yeah, it's another way to see the spreading or the connection you have with people living in different places. Yeah. And this has to do with immigration. So in my case, I was also surprised because I saw many people in USA, and this was the case from this Swiss origin. This was a time many people immigrated from Europe because it was very hard to survive there. It was a time with problems and lack of resources, especially the young people. They had to immigrate. And then most went to the USA, some went to South America, and I could see some people also in different countries in Europe. So it's very interesting, this aspect of spreading your connections with people in different places. And another aspect I think is also good is some tests show where, or the possibility to have problems, health problems, you know, so you can give more attention to some vulnerability you have, and make yourself in a better condition to develop things you want. So I think it's a good approach also to focus on the genetics, apart from many other things.
Yeah, we need to investigate everything, right? When you're doing a proper seriexological study and a holobiographical study, you need to investigate everything. And there's always these two movements that are important, from the past to the present, and from the present to the past, right?
That's right.
To understand all facets, all possibilities, and be open-minded to whatever it is that you discover. Right.
Yeah, that's a very important thing, because sometimes we have the fact and we just don't want to see it, right?
Yes.
The fact is right there, and well, this is not that important, so let's move to another
But
point.
this also shows the affinity. Affinity is not only something you like, but also the things you dislike.
Exactly.
And
sometimes the things you dislike give you more information than
more
those
tips.
things you like.
Exactly. And also, if you identify, for example, one previous life, you have been, I don't know, a medical doctor, or a writer. If you compare to your life today, it should be better today. Your manifestation from this aspect should be better than in the previous life. Exactly. So it's not only what we see from the past, but what we understand we have for the future. To plan and to do the things you see you need to do.
Yeah, because the importance of doing a seriexological self-research is not so much to discover who you were in the past, and we probably, some of us were in the encyclopedia, so to speak, because we've been in leadership positions in many lifetimes. But the importance of it is for you to understand yourself better, to understand your strong traits better, and if you are using them correctly and cosmetically, and to understand your weak traits better, and to check if you are doing the necessary resing. And also this gives you perspective, because there's many ways of doing self-research, but I love seriexological self-research because I don't need to go just deep. I need to go in perspective and understand, where did it start? How was it formed? What is happening now, the past now? How can I deal with that now and for the future? You also, doing this movement, you also understand your proexis more. When you look back, a lot of things now make a lot more sense. And then obviously you can program your next, the soul, next intermissive period, next life, because you have your history, right? As a consciousness, it's a lot more clear what it is that you need to develop, what it is that you need to recycle, how can you evolve, what are the traits that you need to polish, to evolve. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. And do you think that this exposure to multiculturalism can, let's say, accelerate this process of understanding of, self research in terms of seriexological terms?
It's like you can't love a person without knowing the person first, meeting the person first. With this multiculturalism is the same thing. How can you develop your multiculturalism without being exposed to different cultures? That doesn't happen, right? It's not only in your holobiography, but you need the contact, the interaction. on a regular basis with these different cultures. Is not to just for you to know intellectually, I understand what multiculturalism is. No, it doesn't work like that.
I read lots of books, right? Read lots of books about different countries.
And then I'm multicultural now.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. Of course, it is important that you study, that you read a lot of books. Yes, that you study history, geography, philosophy, about cultures, about the food of the country, about the musics of these countries, about the art of these countries, the archaeology of these countries, the films about these countries. All that is important, and the traveling. But that is still not enough. Sorry. But, you need to go deeper. One thing is you travel to a country and you gather information about that country. But even when you do, your vision of the country is restricted because you didn't interact enough culturally. So one of the things that I used to advise my English students, the younger generations, was, if you have the opportunity, please go and live abroad for at least a couple of years. It's not 6 months, it's not 2 months, it's a couple of years, because the first year is for adaptation, and then second year you start interacting more with the cultures in that other location. And then you have a deeper understanding of the people. And then you have a deeper understanding of how to interact and the benefits that you get from all that. So I'm sure that Lygia also has an interesting opinion about that.
No, I was just reminding myself about some orthopensatas from Valverde related to this approach. One is exactly about approaches. The title is approach. He says the more culture, experience, and lucidity a conscience has, the greater the high qualities of their research approach can be. So, of course, when we know other countries, other languages, you see the same personality or the same facts from other perspectives. So the research is much better, more complete, and including different approaches. Not only one. So I see, for example,
and also this perspective on your own culture, on your own, the country where you were born from.
Yes, because when you start, for example, one personality, if you are limited to research only using one language or translations to your own language, this is very poor. You are very limited. So the best condition is when you expand your research, including different languages and different approaches. For example, biographies. We know that all biographies have a tendency from the writer. Yes, it's not possible to have something neutral, let's say, or very difficult to have it. And when you compare different publications about one fact or one personality, you can then make up your mind and have your own conclusions, your own feeling, especially when you do this considering the multidimensional approach. So the more information you have from different sources, the better your research can be. And I agree with Lily about this aspect. One thing is when you plan to visit one country, and it's very important to plan this very well, to get the best out of these days or weeks you can spend there. But it's completely different when you live in a country and you integrate yourself and you understand better what's going on there. And there is another pensata from Wald about these trips. He says a well-planned technical trip is an evolutionary excursion equivalent to reading the works of an entire library. So you see how this can be wide and important. Yeah. So sometimes it's much better to go and to feel the energies, to interact and to consult the primary sources than to stay in a library full of books. you only see from one aspect. Yeah. So I think these are important things one should consider when planning a self-research. And I was just remember about the possibilities we have at Consecutivos. We have some consultancies to help people. And there is one specifically to plan retrocognitive trip. Yeah, normally this is offered in Portuguese, but we have a lot of volunteers able to talk in English and other languages. So I think this is a good resource we could use. So before going to a trip, plan it in advance and get help from people who are able to see where to go and how to do this, and how to use better your time, how to combine activities and places connected, and all this. So I think people interested, they can go to the website of Consecutivos and have this, it's a personal consultancy. There will be 2 or 3 people
helping you, right, for 2 hours just on your case, right?
Exactly.
For these impressions.
Yeah. So I think to use this kind of resources is very important to have a good result, because it's very frustrating when you plan something and then you see, this going to this place was a waste of time because it was closed, or there are many possibilities we should consider when investing, because it's a lot of money, a lot of energy and time when we say, okay, we should go to such country and to research about such personality or such group, whatever.
And in the case, for instance, a person I know, and I agree with you that a personal, direct experience interacting with people from one culture and a country is the best way of getting this idea and feeling this idea in a theoretical and practical
and living
way.
This idea,
living this idea, of multiculturalism. But considering, for instance, when someone doesn't have the possibility or the not yet it's not yet possible for the researcher to be there or to have this local and direct experience, is there any other techniques, ways of approaching or being exposed?
I mentioned many, right? Yeah. So all, connecting you with the cultures, anything that has to do with the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were saying initially, reading the books, reading history, the geography, archaeology, art, about, watching movies, listening to the music, trying the food, all that approaches you from the whole cuisine of a specific culture that you want to investigate. But all of them are just considered they're a bit short. Just that the information that you get or travel still even, is still restricted. The information you get is restricted. If you want to go well beyond the stereotypes, you need more. Just that. Yeah. But, in the meantime, do everything else, including the traveling. It's fantastic. It's very, very important. Another thing that adds to what Lygia was saying is that, and to what that pensat and all that is about the languages, right? The polyglotism, or what we call these days multilingualism. When I was young and studied philosophy, there weren't many books philosophy in Portuguese, so you already had to have your baggage of knowledge of different languages to be able to access the books that you needed to access. So you had books in Spanish, you had books in English, even in Spanish, you had books in English, and French, and very few in Portuguese. So I, fortunately study all those languages and more, because philosophy, being philosophy, started, 26 centuries ago in Greece. And so I studied a bit of ancient Greek and a bit of Latin as well, so that I could access the original writings, and then with a compared translation in English or something, to really understand the concepts. And philosophy was created by the Greek, and so the words or neologisms, now in those days were neologisms, were created by them. So that all that helps, right? And I think that when you study a language, it's like going to the gym here. It's a brain activity, right, as well. So it's very much, when you study the second language, is easier and faster than the time that you took to learn the first, and the third, it's easier than the second, and the fourth is easy, because you get used, your brain gets used, the synapses and stuff. So of course there are certain languages are more difficult than others, but the basics being the basics, at least, English is universal.
Yeah. I just want to comment about this aspect of languages, because there is a very interesting pensata also from the lexicon, which says, the more you enter the universe of polyglottism, the more you intelligently and functionally apply your own mother tongue. So when we learn another language, we actually increase the cognition about our own language. And this is very important. So we have an indirect effect on your self-research by learning another language. And there is another pensata of how to say, if you want to increase your culture, study the Latin language. So I think it's not just by chance that he used a lot of Latin in conscientiology, because this brings us the roots, like Lily mentioned. We had past lives into intellectuality using Latin, using Greek language, using Roman language. So if we go back and rescue somehow these aspects of our intellectuality, this helps a lot. And for many intermissivists, I think this scientific language using Latin helps to recover cons. I remember when I accessed conscientiology for the first time, I was reading verbs from the encyclopedia. And I thought, well, this is wonderful. I could understand nearly all these neologisms in Latin because of the background from the science I was interacting in this life. Yeah, scientific language or terms from medical science. So exactly. I think it's
science tends to go there. Science, exactly. Law, and all these sciences tend to drink, so to speak, from Latin and Greek, as we do. So sometimes people still complain about neologism. Come on, we are using scientific language as everybody else. We are creating neologisms founded in the bases are Latin and Greek, exactly the same.
Yeah, and just about this question you made before, Weber, about how people who cannot travel or cannot go to another country, I remember when I arrived in Germany, at the very beginning, I was not able to talk in German language. I had no German, not at all. And I remember I found in the internet a group of people. They met once a week to talk in English and German. So it was like a meeting talking about all kinds of topics. And we also, so I got very close to this group, and I could develop I could learn much more. I could interact with different people because they were all foreigners. And there were activities, going weekend to a lake or visiting one place in the mountains and so on. And I remember here in Belo Horizonte, I'm in Belo Horizonte now, I know one group, BH Gringos. So these are people living here, but they are from other countries. So nowadays, it's very easy to find people in internet. So you can expose yourself. At the beginning is obvious, not so easy, but as you go along, you practice and you get to know other people, other backgrounds, and and maybe you can even start sharing things about your self-research with other people and talk about conscientiology. And of course, in conscientiology, we have many events nowadays in other languages. So there are different groups, so people can integrate and expose themselves into different ways of of life and of understanding, even ways to understand conscientiology. This is very rich when you talk to people with different backgrounds, because then it's a good debate. Yeah, you bring your background, which is completely different from other people. So to explore, to understand your singularities, I think it's important to interact with different people as much as possible.
That's right. One thing that while I was hearing you talk about your experience and your ideas, another thing that I also think that is important to consider is the possibility of interaction with extra physical consciousnesses. Like in Penta, you are both Penta practitioners, and not only Penta, but for instance, out of the body experiences like lucid projections. But especially Penta, I think that it's interesting because it's at least in my own experience, some interactions are very like close interactions. So you get to connect deeply with consciousnesses, extra physical consciousnesses, and that also I think that enriches our our knowledge and background in terms of multiculturalism, because sometimes you can identify the cultures and the main ethnic backgrounds of those consciousness.
Can I start?
Yes.
I think that as we develop multiculturalism, as we were saying, everything expands. So intraphysically and extraphysically, obviously. And so extraphysically, there are no frontiers. There are no borders, and people can understand each other just using telepathy. But there are still pockets of groups of people that are still very restricted to their last human body, and therefore they still only communicate in their specific language of their last past life. And that is why it is also useful for you to be more knowledgeable of different languages, so that you can actually interassist them, so that you can actually get in touch, right? Having said that, because you open all these different routes, you are less restricted. And even when you project, for me, it happens a lot. It has always happened from an early age to project in many different countries. And sometimes speaking languages that I don't speak intraphysically. I remember one of my first projections that was very much lucid in that respect. I was speaking Polish. And these days, I feel this big connection with Romania, and I realize that I have friends in almost all the countries of the Balkanic Peninsula and stuff like that. I came across yesterday when I was preparing stuff also for today, of a projection that I had 3 years before we went to Romania. I saw ourselves, our group there, a group of us, giving courses in a hotel. That was the first time that I had a projection, or Romania. And then this happened 3 years after. It happened last year. We went there to give events.
Yeah. Well, talking about Penta, I think it's really an activity, an existential task. You say, yes, I want to do this. So it is universalism in practice, I understand. So you sometimes you get demands you never thought about. Yeah, you receive consciousness in need of something you never thought about before, and you have to be prepared to assist everyone, no matter if you understand the way the person manifests or where this person is from, where this consciousness comes from. But in a way or another, you are connected to the whole thing, to the whole planet. And I remember when you asked about this project about planetary Penta, in which the Penta practitioner adopt or take one country to assist in his or her Penta. And this is, it's amazing how you see some people reporting that after adopting one country, you start to have some experiences, either projections or synchronicities or invitations to talk about this country, or, so it's like you open up a more universal way to assist people, to assist other consciousness. So I think it's the basic, in our daily life, because we do Penta every day. And another point about Penta is the place you have your place, your house, your residence. Of course, we know from our experiences, I have this experience. After practicing Penta for some years in one place, you see how things are affected in your surroundings. Yeah, I started Penta in Germany. I accessed Conscienciology, I was in Germany. Yeah, and I could see this progress of things around myself, first around the house, then the other houses nearby, and in a way it was like a qualification. I could see, after some years doing Penta, practicing Penta, it was like, okay, now I'm more qualified to receive more complex demands. And if we think about the localization and the interassistential context, you think, for example, the place where I'm based in Germany, I'm the only Penta practitioner there. Yeah, the next one is some hundreds of kilometers away. So it's like you open up a small condition to start assisting in a more universal way your group, first your group karma, and then you expand to other consciousness you had no contact this life or in previous life, but you are there. So you make a difference in terms of energies to these places. So I think Penta is a very important approach, and it helps a lot by receiving, you see some synchronicities, you see some tips from the helpers, you see that the work is going on. Yeah. So I'm very in favor of all these Penta practitioners going into a network. It's like a network, multidimensional network of people assisting others.
If I may add, contrarily to Lygia, the first people that I did Penta for was everyone around the house to be able to have a clear space to work. Okay, let's do location first, and then spreading. Let's do city. Let's spread. And
Let's clear up
and
the
immediately I
terrain.
started seeing the changes. So that was very interesting. In the neighbors and stuff, wow, so this is really effective, right? And then there was this time that I would like to talk about briefly. A few years ago, we had this EPICON here that did the dynamic for Africa. So each participant of the dynamic used to choose a country from Africa and then develop research on that country and, energetically assist that country. And when I participated in the dynamic, then I realized, oh gosh, I have so many connections in Africa as well, with so many different countries that I was not thinking about, because Africa is 54 countries, right? Like Europe. And I had all these connections and things started happening, and it was so interesting. So this idea of choosing a country and directing inter-assistance to a country is a very, very important idea as well, I think. With the ideas of multiculturalism and universalism.
I would like to take this opportunity to comment about the ECP3 course, which is a huge and like group Penta event that has all these benefits and consequences and things that happen when you start doing Penta. They actually get like potentialized by this group event. So this is an event that usually is done in our community, in the international conscienciological cosmetical community, to support and to give support for projects like constructions or expansion. Big projects. And we are going to have one of these courses to actually help the construction of Consecutivo's main building, let's say headquarters.
Your headquarters. Let me just briefly explain, because people abroad don't know what an ECP is. So ECP means extension in conscienciology and projectiology. So these are advanced courses. After you've done your basic courses, fundamentals of conscienciology, you can further do many other courses. And these courses, there is an ECP1, an ECP2, an ECP3. So they are advanced courses. Each one is different, but the ECP2s and ECP3s are very much practical. People just lie down and work with energies. And, as Weber was saying, is a huge Penta, a collective Penta. And the ECP3s are then connected to actually helping clear intraphysically and extraphysically a specific area to build something that is really big. And in this case, it will be Consecutivo's headquarters in Foz.
And a good thing about the ECP3 is that it has no prerequisites, different from ECP2, which requires this.
But you have studied everything before, like the basic fundamentals, and ECP1. Then you can do ECP3. ECP3 has no prerequisites.
There's no prerequisites, so it's more like democratic. So just
Come
like to,
join us and do Penta with us.
yes. So it's going to be, actually, it's not 2025, it's 2026. So 1 year and a half ahead. It's going to be from the 1st to the 3rd of May, 2026. Okay, so everyone is invited.
And let me just say, you don't need to be Penta practitioner, okay? Just come.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
come and join. You'll
Yeah,
be
it's a
fine.
very good experience, because when we get together and work with energies together, it makes everything like bigger and more potentializes many things.
For everyone
Yeah, for
involved.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Intraphysically and extraphysically.
intraphysically and extraphysically, and with this interassistincial aims, everything gets really interesting. Very good. So we're actually approaching our end, the end of the program. I'd just like to make a quick question, because we and final comments on the topic. We talk a lot about how to expand, how to be more exposed to different cultures, and the benefits of it. But there is one question that is like the opposite, a little bit the opposite. So when should one avoid a certain country or culture that might have a negative impact on oneself?
Let's not end on a negative note.
Yeah, that's not the idea. Is not to end on a negative note, but just to
Yeah,
complement,
just to know.
to
Yeah.
yeah, just to know.
We have probably different experiences. In my
Mhm,
experience,
mhm,
if you cannot stay in a country, imagine that you decided to move to a different country and have this experience in a different country. If you cannot hold yourself there must be a reason.
mhm,
And in some cases, like it happened to me, it's I wanted to travel to a specific country, and I tried and I tried since I was young, and I didn't manage until today. So that probably means this is not yet the lifetime that you can go there, because your retro mold there, your hollow mold there is not very good. And probably you're still not in a position, in a condition to be able to not to be, not the sky falling on my head or the extra physical, and
mhm.
you're not knowing how to deal with that or something. What about you,
Yeah.
Lisa?
No, I think self-research is something you have to identify the priorities, what you can do and what you should do at this very evolutionary moment. And we have a lot of connections and things we are still not prepared to face. So sometimes when you have to pay attention to we say, things against you. Yeah. When you start doing something and everything is against, maybe you should consider a new approach, or at least leave it for later. Yeah. So I want to bring one case from my self-research. I lived in different countries. Yeah. And I mentioned that in Germany, everything was open for me. I was really doing a lot of things, and I think I finished my career in Germany with a very ambitious project. I had many students, and I got a resource from the European Commission and so on and so forth. I was in a very good university in Munich, but when I compare with the time, for example, I was in Argentina. I spent 1 year in Argentina. I was there to make a postdoc period, a sabbatic year. Everything went wrong. I had a lot of problems, and especially, I commented this before with you, I was robbed in Argentina for 3 times. This had never happened in Brazil, where I live many decades. So, At that
Or any
time,
other country for that matter.
I was not aware about all these retroform, holotosenic, heteroform, and so on. I did not understand. I was not lucid for this. But today I understand. So maybe there are things I have to recompose and to reconciliate and to do there, but I'm not ready, I'm not prepared, and maybe I have other priorities.
Yes.
So I think you have to keep your lucidity, your discernment, and be very calm, honest. Yeah. Don't go with your heart, but go with your brain and see what is in favor, what is going or bringing you forward, and what is really stopping you. Yeah. So I think this is, in general terms, my experience.
In my case, it was a funny one. I always wanted to go to Italy because I have this connection with the Renaissance in Italy as well as the Renaissance in England. But so 15th century Renaissance in Italy. And there was a time that I even had the flight tickets bought, and I couldn't go. Because then the last time, and I had people waiting for me in Firenze, and then in my in the last time, there was this ash plume coming from Iceland that closed the whole the whole air, the space
airports.
in many different countries, the airspace, and you couldn't travel for 2 weeks. And I only had those 2 weeks. That was the slot of my holidays. I couldn't change the holidays. And so the company had to give me back the money and I couldn't travel. So that was then I started thinking, what's happening here, right? Kind of weird, Yeah, not the time yet.
Yeah.
Although I had many Italian customers that loved my service and they only wanted to speak with me. And they say, look, but my Italian is not so good. No, but you know what we want and we like you. And okay, thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Well, the world is big. There's so many other possibilities. If Italian is not for the time, for now, maybe
and go somewhere else.
Yeah, somewhere. Croatia is a little,
for sure.
really close. Let's try different
We went to
countries.
Romania, not very far away.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Lygia and Liliana, thank you very much. If I just doing a wrap up, if you have anything else that you would like to add, feel free.
Well, I hope we made it enough interesting for people to go deeper into multiculturalismology, and I am very thankful, very grateful for this opportunity to talk about this subject, and I thank you for inviting me once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, Liliana.
Yeah, me too. I would like to say thank you very much for this opportunity. I think it was very good. And just one thing I want to mention is about multiculturalism is multidimensional. So every time we think about our connections, we should think in a multidimensional way. Yeah. And we are never alone. We are always connected to a lot of people, especially our helpers and the people who want to see our evolution going forward. So thank you very much. It was very good.
Fultimexes, the Serenissimi.
Yeah.
We are part mini piece,
exactly.
Just mini piece.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Weber and
you.
Lily. It was a pleasure to be here tonight.
Thank you. It was a pleasure
Thank
for
you,
me
Lily.
too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lygia. Once again, it was a real pleasure. And thank all of you that were participating and accompanying us through the internet. Have a good night. Hope to see you once again in our future programs, future MnemoConnects. And I'll leave you with our video of our headquarters.
Very good.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.